My African folktale.
They say beauty opens doors, but from the moment Monalisa came into this world, it felt like every door slammed shut, before she could even knock. She was born just before dawn, in a quiet village. The rain had just stopped, the wind was cold, and when her mother Margaret first held her, she froze. Not because of the cold, but because of the face staring back at her. Monalisa's features were different, too different. One side of her face looked slightly swollen, her eyes not aligned, her nose bent just a little too far to the left, her lips too wide. Even the midwife had gone silent when she saw her. But Margaret didn't drop her. She didn't cry or scream. She just pressed her newborn to her chest and whispered, "You will still be loved, even if the world says you shouldn't be." But the world didn't whisper back. By the time Monalisa was old enough to walk, the stares had already begun. By the time she could talk, other children had started calling her names. Gorilla Face, Spirit Pekin, Witch Girl. She never responded. She just hummed. When the words cut too deep, she sang softly under her breath, her own way of covering the pain. By age 10, Monalisa already knew what it meant to live in a body people didn't want to see. By age 12, she had perfected the art of shrinking herself, of hiding in corners, of laughing without showing teeth. But her voice, her voice. That was the only part of her the world didn't reject. At 14, she could sing a bird out of the sky. She could make people stop mid-argument. Even the market women would pause and say, "That Mona girl, she sounds like an angel, Shah. Too bad. Too bad." That was the part that always followed her praise. Too bad she looks like that. Too bad no boy will ever marry her. Too bad she's cursed with that face. But when she opened her mouth to sing, the world stopped. Her voice could calm a crying baby, soothe a quarrel between two angry farmers, and bring silence to a noisy market. It was a voice you didn't just hear. You felt it in your chest, in your bones, deep in your soul. Even the birds seemed to quiet when she sang. Her mother, Margaret, a beautiful woman with strong cheekbones and glowing dark skin, often told her, "You were born with the gift of peace, Mona. It's not your face people will remember, it's your voice." Monalisa would smile, but never fully, because her two closest friends, Cynthia and Bella, didn't see her that way. They were everything Monalisa was not. Slender, clear-skinned, pretty, and bitter. In public, they'd walk beside her, smile and act like sisters. But behind her back, and sometimes even in front of her, their words were like poisoned honey. "She's so lucky she can sing," Bella would whisper loudly enough. "Too bad nobody will ever want to marry her," Cynthia would reply with a smirk. One day at the village market, something shifted. Monalisa had just finished singing for a tired old woman whose stall had no customers. As her song floated in the air, people started to gather. First 2, then 5, then 10. By the time she finished, the entire row of stalls was surrounded, not by buyers but by listeners. One market woman sighed deeply and said, "If I had that voice then, I would be singing to kings." Another added, "Forget beauty, this girl's voice is gold. I get goosebumps every time." Monalisa blushed. But Cynthia and Bella stood nearby, their smiles frozen, their eyes cold. They had always relied on their beauty to be seen. Yet here, in this crowd, no one even looked their way. The sun had barely risen when Monalisa's mother woke her up. She tied her headscarf and adjusted the wrapper around her daughter's waist. They had to be early to secure a good spot in the village market. The journey from their small hut to the market took almost an hour on foot, but Monalisa never complained. She loved walking through the forest paths, humming softly to herself. Her voice was what made the birds pause mid-flight, and squirrels stop mid-scurry. The air bent for her voice, as if nature itself leaned in to listen. At the market, the air buzzed with voices, laughter, and the sound of goods being arranged. Traders spread out their wares, yams, spices, palm oil, beads, fabrics. Monalisa and her mother settled under their usual mango tree, unwrapping their plantain bunches. It was an ordinary day, until she began to sing. She hadn't planned to, but when a restless child cried nearby, Monalisa sang a gentle lullaby to help him sleep. The moment the melody left her lips, silence fell around the tree. Women paused mid-bargain. Men turned their heads. Children stopped chasing one another. Then came the murmurs. Isn't that Monalisa's voice? Ah, see goosebumps all over my arm. God really gave her something special. Oh. Even the old woman who sold pepper, usually quick to shoo Monalisa and her mother away for taking up space, was nodding her head to the rhythm. A tall, full-bodied woman said loudly, and let's not lie. She might not look like her friends, but that voice is gold. Another woman added, if I had a daughter that could sing like that, I would sleep well every night. Monalisa, who had only meant to calm a child, blushed. Her mother smiled, proud but quiet. But across the market, hidden between baskets of tomatoes and laughter, 3 faces watched in bitter silence. Her friends. They had always known Monalisa had a beautiful voice. But now the whole village was beginning to notice. And that praise, the loud kind, the public kind, it felt like betrayal to them. When they walked past her stall later that morning, they didn't even greet her. They giggled, whispered, and walked by, as if she was invisible. Monalisa noticed. And it stung. That evening, as the sky turned orange and they walked home, she finally asked her mother a question she had carried for years. Mama, she said slowly, why did the goddess give me this voice, but take my beauty? Her mother stopped walking. She turned to her daughter, brushed a leaf off her shoulder. My child, maybe the goddess didn't take your beauty. Maybe she just hid it, so only the right hearts would see it. Monalisa didn't know what that meant. Not yet. But that night, as she lay on her mat, staring at the old ceiling, her friends' laughter echoed in her head. She wanted more. She wanted beauty. She wanted them to stop laughing. The village square was buzzing as usual. It was Ojo Oja market day. Traders lined the dusty roads with woven baskets filled with peppers, okra, yam, and herbs. Children chased chickens between stalls, and the aroma of roasted maize filled the air. In the heart of it all was Monalisa, seated quietly beneath an old almond tree, peeling oranges to sell. Her dress was patched, her feet bare, and her eyes tired. Yet when she sang, the world stood still. Women stopped bargaining. Men turned from their palm wine. Even the wind seemed to hush, just to hear her. Ah, is that not Monalisa? She may not have the face, but this voice? If that girl's voice was in a fine girl's body, she would have married a prince by now. The comments came in whispers. Not cruel, just truthful, yet still full of awe. Some of the women would drop extra coins by her tray. Some old men would nod in approval. One even said, that voice can wake a sleeping god. But not far from the tree, leaning against a stall, arms folded, were the 3 friends. Faces smooth like oiled clay. Eyes lined with black coal. Earrings like golden suns. They watched the attention shift. Can you imagine? Muttered Cynthia, the boldest. Them saying if she were beautiful, added Bella. She should know by now, some people only get one thing in life. They laughed. But there was bitterness behind it. Bitterness that the girl they mocked still shone, even in rags. Monalisa didn't hear them. Or maybe she did, but she didn't react. She simply kept singing. Because in her voice, she felt free. And for that moment, she was more than her crooked teeth, her sunburnt skin, or the limp in her walk. She was something else. A soul unchained. But that evening when the market cleared and the noise died down, she walked home slowly, past the muddy river path, past the trees that whispered old secrets, until she reached their small hut at the edge of the village. Her mother was outside, pounding yam, sweat on her brow. Welcome, my daughter, she said, smiling. How was the market? Monalisa dropped the tray gently. Mama, she began softly, am I truly that ugly? Her mother paused. She wiped her hands on her wrapper, and turned. Who told you that? Monalisa hesitated, eyes wet. They didn't say it today, but it's in their eyes. In the way people talk, like I'm not enough, like I'm not worthy. Her mother sighed. It heavy. She reached forward and gently touched Monalisa's cheek. You were born during the eclipse. The midwife said your voice was the first thing that made the crying baby next door stop. You've always had something special. But Mama, it's not enough. No one sees me. The woman looked at her daughter. Truly looked. And for the first time in a long time, she realized how much her child had been hurting. All the jokes, all the whispers, All the laughter behind her back. She'd smiled through it all, until now. Monalisa stood. Mama, what can I do? What can I give to be beautiful? Just once. Just enough. Her mother was silent, because some questions had no answers, or so she thought. The next market day evening, after the market had closed, and the sun was quietly retreating behind the hills, that night Monalisa walked home quietly beside them. They had just finished talking about a new fabric seller in town, giggling over how cute he was. I want to ask you something, Monalisa said, her voice trembling slightly. She could feel their silence. The fake laughter from earlier had disappeared, and for the first time, she gathered the courage to ask, "What can I do to be beautiful? What can I do to be like you?" Cynthia stopped in her tracks. Bella turned slowly, eyes wide, then burst out laughing. "You? Be like us." "You can't fix that face," Cynthia added, laughing even harder. "Some people are just meant to be ugly. That's your fate, Monalisa. Accept it." Monalisa didn't laugh. She just stood there, her chest heavy, eyes filling with tears she refused to let fall in their presence. When she got home, she tried to hold it in, but the sobs came anyway. Her mother found her curled up on her mat, hugging her knees. "Who hurt you?" Margaret asked softly, kneeling beside her. "Tell me, my child." Through hiccups, Monalisa asked the question she had kept inside for years. "Mama, why am I ugly? You're so beautiful. Why didn't I get your face?" There was a long pause. Margaret didn't rush her answer. She took her daughter's hands and said gently, "Because you look like your father. He wasn't a handsome man, Monalisa, but I loved him more than any man alive. He was kind, gentle, thoughtful. And his voice, oh, his voice could make a weeping tree blossom." Monalisa looked up. "He could sing too?" Margaret nodded. "Exactly like you. I fell in love with the sound of him before I ever looked at his face." That night Monalisa lay on her mat, staring at the roof. The words of her friends echoed. The praise of the villagers rang in her ears. The voice of her mother, full of love, wrapped around her. But still, she wanted more. She didn't want to just be the girl with a nice voice. She wanted to be beautiful too. The following day, she was walking along the narrow village path when she overheard two women talking in hushed voices about a goddess deep in the forest, one that grants wishes. Monalisa stopped in her tracks. She ran to them and begged, "Please tell me where I can find this goddess." One of the women hesitated, looked her up and down, then finally gave her the directions. That night, Monalisa couldn't sleep. Her heart raced with excitement. She imagined her reflection, soft skin, long lashes, lips like ripe fruit. She pictured the boys who once mocked her, now begging for her attention. Her mother noticed her unusual excitement, but said nothing. At sunrise, she left. She walked for hours into the forest, until she reached the place. In the center, stood a massive twisted tree, silent, still, yet alive. The air around it pulsed. She knelt before it and whispered, "Please, make me beautiful. That's all I want." A strange wind swept through. Her skin tingled. Her bones ached. Something shifted inside her. When she opened her eyes, she was beautiful. So beautiful, even the birds paused mid-flight. She gasped. Her hands trembled as they touched her smooth cheeks, her full lips. She laughed. She cried. Then she ran. Her legs fast, her smile wide, she ran straight home. But when she burst through the door and shouted, "Mama, it's me," her mother stared at her with confusion. No, you're not my daughter. My daughter is ugly, but with a sweet, sweet voice. You're beautiful, but listen to my voice." Monalisa cried and began to sing. But her voice was gone. What came out sounded like something dying. Cracked, sour, painful. Like someone vomiting shards of glass. Her mother stepped back in horror. Get out of my house. Where is my daughter? What have you done to her?" Tears fell. Monalisa stumbled out and ran to her friends. Maybe they will recognize me, she thought. Maybe they will know. But they didn't. "It's me," she said. "No, Monalisa is ugly. You're not her," they laughed. "Then listen to my voice," she said, desperate now. She sang again. Her voice was worse this time. Her friends burst into laughter. Not only are you ugly inside, you sound like a dying goat. Mocked, rejected, unrecognized. She wandered the village. No one knew her. Some admired her. Who is that girl? They whispered. Is she new in the village? She's beautiful. But admiration didn't feel like love. It felt empty, cold. She returned home, sobbing, hoping her mother would just hug her. But her mother screamed, "Where is my daughter? You've killed her. She hasn't returned since morning." Monalisa fell to the floor. She wanted to scream the truth, but she remembered what the goddess had said. If you tell anyone, you will die. So she ran. Back to the forest. Back to the tree. She stood before it and screamed, "You lied to me. You took my voice, my identity. You gave me beauty but stole everything that mattered. You are wicked." The tree shook. A voice echoed around her like thunder. "You begged me to make you beautiful. I granted your wish. Now, I have cursed you." Her hair twisted, slithered. She reached up in horror. Her hair was now snakes. The goddess's voice returned. "From now on, anyone who looks into your eyes will turn to stone. You wanted to be seen, now they will fear to even look." Monalisa screamed. She begged. But it was too late. Her beauty had become a curse. Her voice was gone. Her name erased. She walked back towards the village in silence, tears streaming down her face. Then, she heard them. Laughter. Voices she knew too well. Her friends. They saw her, and froze. It's her. That demon. They didn't recognize her. She tried to run, to turn away, to warn them. But one of them stared into her eyes, and turned to stone. Then another. And another. All frozen in fear. Now forever frozen in time. Monalisa broke down. She knew she could never go home again. She couldn't face her mother. She couldn't let her become stone too. So, she turned her back on the village, and walked into the forest, alone, regretting the day she ever wished for beauty.